about the process of getting involved in this film?
I went out there. The cool thing about me, when I did it, the first one, it was just a small character. It was a small part. It wasn't even called Mater. It was called Zeb. And they offered me the role of Zeb, the small town tow truck. They said, we want you to be the Zeb, the small. And of course, I'm like, yeah, I'm in, you know. And I went out there and I did my parts, and I guess John really liked it. And the animators came up to me and said, boy, we really like Mater. He's so much fun to animate. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I appreciate it. Next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call. Hey, listen, we got more lines for you. Come out. We kind of redid some of Mater. They really like Mater. He's testing well. Next thing you know, Mater's like this good big part of the movie. So it was really cool. But that was your whole process. I ended up going out there, I think, for the first movie 8, 9 times to finish it up. But that's pretty much it. You go there, you're in the room all by yourself, and there's nobody else there.
Is there somebody feeding lines back to you? Like
yeah, John.
So John does all these.
Yeah, John and Brad Lewis. He was involved in that as well. Sometimes when Brad wasn't there, John would have somebody else with him to read the lines. But John a lot of times likes to read the lines.
Does he do voices or does he do it very straight?
He just doesn't. Well, he kind of sometimes he'll do a voice, you know. He'll kind of do a voice.
Do a falsetto for the female voices or something.
Well, John's always the same kind of voice. He's, you know, he'll do every voice a little high pitched, you know, and trying to be the character. Brad Lewis, he was more like, you know, he would get into different, like, but John's always the same kind of high pitched character type voice. But he's really cool. John and I hit it off really good because he's a super down to earth guy. You would never, you know, Pixar and the whole deal, but man, he is like awesome. I mean, he's a guy I would hang out with normally, even if I didn't know him. If I just met him somewhere, I would gravitate to John. But he, when you're doing the lines, he'll go like, okay, in this scene, Mater's really sad. He's not sad. He's just really happy he found a best friend, and so you know, so that's why. So I would like go. So let's the part where I said, "You're my best friend," and I go when I did the. Well, I know that I made it. I know that I made a good decision. He's like, "What's that, Mater?" On my best friend. But I remember the first time I did that, I went, "On my best friend," and John goes like this. That's it. Do another one, but I think I got it. I mean, that was the cool thing, because I loved watching him. He was really entertained. You know, you could tell if you did the line good by his reaction, because he didn't just sit there and go, okay, that's good, like we got it. I mean, he's literally like, ah. I remember when I first did it, I did like 3 lines, and I was like, John, I don't think I would say that line like that. Can I like say it a different way? And he goes, no, that's why I hired you. You're Mater. I want your voice. You're Mater. I don't care how you say it. You get to just as long as you get to what we're talking about, you say it however you want to. That's where all the dadgums and all that stuff came from. So instead of like, I'm going to go to, hey, I'll be back. I'm going to go to the store and get a sandwich. It was like, well, dadgum, and I'm starting to get hungry for some Beatles. Y'all stay here. I'm going to run up here and get me a sandwich. You know, that kind of, you know, so that's when I knew I was doing good. So that was the whole process.
Where did the voice of Mater come from?
My act. I mean, I just developed my act way back in the late 80s. You know, I went to college in Georgia, so I picked up the Southern accent. I talked like that with my friends all the time because it was fun. It was funny. You say things funny, and all my friends were real Southern, and, you know, we're buddies, you know, so I would say stuff to make them laugh, and, you know. So that was pretty much it. I just incorporated that in my act, and when I did Mater, I didn't do any changes. That was, you know, when I did Blue Collars, like, oh, you ever go to, I think the first joke John heard on that tape was, you ever go to a drive-in movie and fall asleep and wake up next morning you're part of the flea market? Well, he was like, that's Mater. So when I did Mater, I just went in there and said, hey, my name's Mater, like tomato without the tub. No change, just what I'd been doing forever. And so there wasn't really hard to get into the Mater character because I was the Mater character.
In comparison to like your stand-up and your comedy albums and stuff, is this like easier, harder, more fun for you?
This is easier. The joke, I mean, everything's written for you. You just got to read it. the hardest part about, I'll tell you the hardest part about it is the emotional parts of it, when Mater has to show emotion, you know, when you want to like if you're watching the movie and you're watching a cartoon and it's really sad and it makes you cry, you know, well, that's the actor making you cry just by the way he says what he says. That was the hardest thing about doing Mater, especially in the second one. In the first one, yeah, Mater was just a lot of funny quips, and he was just there. He was the comic relief. In this one, man, there's a lot of heart in it. Mater has a lot of different emotions. He gets mad, he gets sad. You never see Mater get mad at anybody. So Mater gets mad, but you don't want it to be overbearing mad. So that was the hard part about this. But as far as stand-up, I mean, stand-up, you're trying to write your own jokes and perform them, and you get, you know, that's definitely harder than this.
So could you tell us how Cars 2 is different from the original?
Oh, yeah, it's completely different. The first Cars was just a fun little romantic jaunt down Route 66 in days gone by, and remembering what it was like back in the day when the cars came by and everybody had the, you know, so that was what that was, and you just were introduced to the characters. And the second one is a 180-degree turnaround. I mean, it's action from the beginning to the end, nonstop. And the reason I think it's so awesome is the animation, not only 5 years down the line from the first Cars, is unbelievable. I mean, the water and the ocean, and you're like, well, why don't they just use real water and ocean? Because it looks just like it, you know. But and the writing, everything just got even better and better. And so this is all action packed from beginning to end. The first movie kind of like set up the characters, set up who they were, what they were like. This movie put these characters in a whole different situation.
What sort of Mater does, even though he said he was more of an ancillary character, does go through a change in the first film. How is he different at the beginning of the second one from where we left off with him in the first?
Mater's not any different. Mater's Mater. That's the cool thing about Mater. That's why people like him. He never changes. He's a good friend. He's always faithful to his buddies and whoever he's with. He doesn't judge anybody by how they look or what kind of a truck they are. You know, he just wants to be your buddy. He's a good truck, I guess is how you would say it.
It's funny, we haven't actually seen the film yet, but I've seen the trailers, and there's a great gag in there where Michael Caine's character says British intelligence and Mater says Mater average intelligence, which is a great line.
Right.
But it makes me think, is Mater self-conscious about the way other cars feel about him? Does he feel like he's a dummy and he's upset about this?
Mater only feels that later on in the movie. Only later on in the movie when he realizes he's in a mess that he can't get out of, and he had no idea he was getting in this mess, because Mater's a nice guy. And that's why I always say Mater's kind of an extension of myself. That's why my wife, when she saw the movie, she goes, "Oh my gosh, it's so perfect. That's exactly what you do." It's like on the way in here, you know, the people want this autograph or this autograph, but we got to be somewhere. I'm the guy that goes, you know what? Let me sign it. I feel bad they can't. I mean, I try to. That's what Mater does. Mater tries to make everybody happy, and Mater gets into trouble because the more Mater tries to make people happy, the more trouble he gets into. So Mater is the same guy he was in the first movie. Mater is just put in different situations in the second movie, but no, Mater never really changes.
Who are some of your fellow castmates that you look forward to meeting, you know, on the red carpet at the premieres? Because, like you said before, you know, you really don't get to have much interaction.
No, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing Bonnie Hunt again, because Bonnie's awesome. We've run into each other several times, and she's funny, man. I think she's great. Tony Shalhoub's awesome. What's his name? Katchmeyer. From Cheers. What's his?
Oh, John Ratzenberger.
John Ratzenberger. Sorry, Kratchmeyer. Ratzenberger is awesome, and so he'd be fun to see again. I'm definitely looking forward just to at least saying hi to Michael Caine, just for the sheer fact of I can't believe that I've not only been in one movie but two. I mean, it's crazy that I got this movie. So just the fact that I can always say, look, not only did I work with, but I met Paul Newman and Michael Caine, right. Two of the greatest actors of all time. It's pretty cool to not only have met them, but be in the same movie with them.